the classic thing is, Google's demand capture and Facebook is demand generation. Like that's a sometimes held view, but the reality is anyone that's in active evaluation, this area here of the customer decision journey, they're an in-market audience. And so if we're advertising to them, they're already in the market for that product. So our ads are really just demand capture here. And the thing is that when we advertise on Facebook, when we launch our ads, if we're optimizing for purchases and conversions, Meta is going to put our ads in front of people that are in market for the most part, because that's where the lowest hanging fruit is.
We are back from another one. This is going to be part 2 of the scaling on paid social series, if you want to call it that. If you missed the previous one, you're going to want to watch it. I'm going to put it right there. But welcome back. And today, same thing. We got Ray. Ray, how you doing? We got Luke as well. How we doing, boys?
Doing good, man.
This is episode
good start
10.
to Q4. Yeah, 10. It's awesome. Especially feeling from a high from all the brands who've been reaching out to us following our Black Friday series that we released. And also our team's getting ready for Black Friday. So I think talking about scaling paid social is just in time.
Nice. Yeah. Last episode, we stayed pretty high level, right? Talked about mindset, had a few jabs around creative and a few salty takes around like creative as well. That was fun. And also, start off with just making sure that we know our numbers and how those numbers interplay with scaling on social or not scaling into oblivion, like Luke was saying previously. And I think that's why we decided to do a second one, right? Because we stayed really high level and it's a good opportunity to get a bit deeper into it. Maybe this is a good place to start. Previously, you said, Luke, that thinking about paid media as part of a system, right? You went into it a little bit last time. In that regard, is there a way to think through, okay, if I think about it like a system, how does it break down into some of the tactical stuff or the more nitty gritty stuff that we're talking about today?
Yeah, well, I think there's systems everywhere. And at a high level, obviously, there's a common e-commerce ecosystem, which is made up of all the elements of your organic, your paid, your email, your customer service. Like it's all part of an ecosystem around your brand. And then at a more granular level, in your ad account is a system in itself as well. So I think from a tactical media buying point of view, we like to talk about thinking of your account as a system. Do you know what I mean? Like all the elements are interactive. If you make a change in your ad account, it's likely to have an impact on the rest of the account, either negative or positive. And that's partly because of the customer journey. It's very rare for someone just to come and see one ad of yours and then just make a purchase and then that's it. You know what I mean? So and when we think about your ad account, normally people are going to see multiple impressions from you. And that might be across multiple ad sets. It might be within the same ad set. It might be the same ad. It might be different ads. And what we don't really have visibility in is what that journey is. And that journey is going to be different for different people as well. So I guess it's more of a conceptual thing to think about. Like if we're going to make a change, like we need to not think about each ad, for example, in isolation. We need to think about how it contributes to the whole system of the ad account. So that's where, if we just look at ads and their performance in isolation, rather than maybe looking at the account performance as a whole or the campaign or the ad set performance, we might be making changes that, on the face of it, are just going to affect that one unit, but actually have an impact on the rest of the account.
Can I go a step further though too? So that's one system. Then you have the broader system of the journey of they see an ad, they search on Google, or they went to the website, put in their email, bought 2 days later from the welcome sequence. So it's very complex. So you even have to zoom out and look at the system as a whole, macro, gross sales of the store, and micro in the actual ad account too.
That was one thing we talked about recently was we did an exercise with a couple of different teams at Right Hook Like, what was the last thing you purchased online? And, you know, what was the trigger for that purchase? Like, what actually triggered you starting to go actively, like, look for that product or the solution? And then, you know, how much research did you do? How long did it take you to actually pull the trigger and make that purchase? You know, how many brands did you evaluate during that whole journey? And then, you know, I probably did that with about 20 people at Ryhook in the last couple of weeks. And like every single journey was completely different, you know, like, and some of those, a lot of those journeys, there was no ads involved whatsoever. Do you know what I mean? Like, and some of those journeys, the trigger was the ad. Some of those journeys, the advertising was part of the evaluation stage. And then like we had journeys that took 5 minutes. Like for me, my last online purchase was a book, and the trigger was I was reading a book that recommended another book. And so that was the trigger for me to start, you know, actively evaluating or trying to find that book. And my initial consideration set of brands in terms of where to purchase that book was the place that I always buy my books from, which is a company called Booktopia. I didn't even consider other places. I didn't think about Amazon or anything like that. So I literally just went onto their website and just purchased the book. 5 minutes. That was my whole customer journey. But then you've got other customer journeys where I had like one of the media buyers on my team, his wife has been like bugging him to buy like a bottle cleaner of all things. And it's taken him like a year to pull the trigger on it. I don't know why. But like, you know, like this just shows you the difference in sort of the journeys that people take when they purchase something. And one of the things we're trying to think about is like when we're an ads manager, everything's very simple. It's a very simple interface relatively compared to the actual complexity that's happening behind the scenes. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of all the billions of customer journeys that are happening and I think you mentioned this and you guys were talking about this in a podcast previously about how, you know, each customer journey is unique. So yeah, it's very complex, you know, and so we have to have sort of models to deal with that, I guess.
I think that's kind of flawed too. Like Facebook ad account is so simple, like what you said, relatively, that we take for granted that's so simple that the answer must also be simple. It's this ad. This one ad is the problem, or this one ad has to spend more money behind it, which isn't the case, right?
Yeah. Yeah, potentially, yeah.
I mean, it makes total sense, right? Like if you're Meta, you want a platform that feels like a game, that as many people can come in and start entering into the Meta scaling lottery as possible and be like, yeah, just click these little buttons that are creative in there, let the algorithm do the rest. That's definitely the case. And I think, you know, we know that it's definitely not like that. I think this might be a good time while we're here, Luke, if you can show that whole customer decision visual.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I think it's really hard to conceptualize without some type of visual aid what we're actually talking about. And then from there...
sorry.
No, you go.
Yeah, I'll just pull it up. So this is, it's actually the customer decision journey model here that you see is actually was actually made by McKinsey. And so it's a bit of a loop. So it starts with a trigger, which is like, it might be like a moment of inspiration. It might be like me reading a book and you know, like getting a recommendation. And then there's like an initial consideration set, which is, you know, potentially a set of brands or places or solutions that are already in your mind because you've been exposed to advertising in the past. And then from there's the active evaluation stage where you may consider even more brands. So you may go online and start doing some research. You know, you may Google. And so at that point, your initial consideration set of brands may expand to like a whole bunch more different types of brands or solutions until you get to the moment of purchase. And then this is kind of what's called a loyalty loop after your post-purchase experience. Obviously, if you have a good experience, then you may become actively loyal to that brand that you purchased from the first time. If that trigger happens again, if you've had a good experience, then you're an active loyalty, and you will come back and purchase again from the same brand. Or you may be passive loyal and consider other brands when you need to make, you know, when the similar trigger occurs. So this is the model from McKinsey, which I think is useful to think about.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing, right? Why? Because what you're showing there is like training for our team internally. Why go so far to start bringing in, like, it can be argued that type of stuff is like, yeah, I mean, that sounds cool, but let's get back into the ad account. Like, why zoom out so far to start bringing in concepts like that? And how does that work into, how does that play into the work that we do?
Yeah, because I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to stay away from just tactics and to think about, like, understanding the customer decision journey in itself is not going to make you a great media buyer. In isolation, that piece of understanding, and it's just one model. There's other models in terms of thinking about the customer journey. There's top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, and then there's like the 5 stages of awareness. So like, it's not like understanding this customer decision journey in itself is going to make you a great media buyer, but I just think conceptually understanding what's going on behind the scenes, rather than just, I'm going to launch 5 ad sets here and just follow the tactics. Think about like actually what's going on, because and I think this is a lot of a trap that a lot of media buyers fall into is looking for the next shiny object in terms of tactics and following certain gurus, which I feel is dangerous, because a guru generally has something to sell, and so they have to package up whatever they're selling and they have to also come up with new stuff regularly to keep themselves relevant. So like, and I fall into this trap myself. I think it's part of being a media buyer is like always searching for that thing that's got to
silver bullet.
The silver bullet,
Yeah.
But the reality is, like, even the guru's tactics are built off principles. You know what I mean? If they're any good, they're built off a solid foundation of principles. So what I'm trying to get my team to be is like their own guru. Like, be your own guru. If you understand the principles enough, you can be your own guru. You can come up with your own tactics. Like, you don't have to constantly be looking at outside. There's no reason why you can't become a guru or as good as anybody else that is on the internet talking about their latest Facebook ads tactic. If you understand the principles, you can come up with those crazy systems yourself if you want. So that's what we're trying to do. But this specific understanding the customer journey itself is useful, I think, when you think about scaling. So I'll share the next screen, hopefully. This one here. So we think about demand capture versus demand generation, because of a lot of the time people think about Facebook as being more, the classic thing is, Google's demand capture and Facebook is demand generation. Like that's a sometimes held view, but the reality is anyone that's in active evaluation, this area here of the customer decision journey, they're an in-market audience. And so if we're advertising to them, they're already in the market for that product. So our ads are really just demand capture here. And the thing is that when we advertise on Facebook, when we launch our ads, if we're optimizing for purchases and conversions, Meta is going to put our ads in front of people that are in market for the most part, because that's where the lowest hanging fruit is. So, when we go broad, we're not just targeting random people, we're targeting people that are actually in market, because obviously Meta has a lot of information about who is actually in market, who's already had that trigger or moment of inspiration and is now actively evaluating. Because obviously if there's a pixel on most websites, Meta knows through your activity that you're in market for this particular solution. So when we think about demand generation versus demand capture, realistically, when you launch an ad, even if you go completely broad, you are targeting, you're more than likely, most of your impressions are going to go in the kind of demand capture bucket. So when we think about scaling, realistically, there's only a certain amount of people that are in market. These people are already problem aware, solution aware, and probably product aware. So that's a limited size depending on what your product is.
Luke, are you defining that anyone who's just not unaware is as in market?
No, because you can be problem aware, but not actively looking for the solution. Do you know what I mean? Like you're not necessarily. I would say in market is someone who's actively looking for that particular solution. So you can have someone
so that means they're solution aware.
Well, you could be, not even solution, because if you're problem aware, you might be actively researching for a solution. So you could technically be in market, I would suggest in that point.
What I want to challenge is I think Facebook's ad platform has gotten so good that it'll put an ad in front of people before they're actually in market. But that for whatever reason, Facebook thinks that they're close to being in market, or that they're really close to another cohort of people who are actively in market. And so that's where, because when I see this, my thought is, well, shoot, I'm just only going to make solution aware and product aware and completely aware ads. But that's just not true, right? Sometimes you have to make problem aware and unaware ads. But I just think Facebook is so good at that the cohorts, understanding who's also just like this cohort of people who are already in market, because they're more than likely to buy as well.
Yeah, 100%. I also think, Meta has enough data on us to do predictive modeling. And it probably understands what those triggers are and, what leads up to those triggers. I think it has enough data. But thinking about demand capture and demand generation, is also thinking about, are your ads producing the trigger? That's really where the demand generation comes from.
When you mean the trigger, you mean like the desire?
Like for example, I may have a problem, or I may be unaware. So maybe the ad makes me aware, of the problem. Like, let's say a common one is like all the chemicals that are in my drinking water, like that come out of the tap, for example, the faucet. If you're in the US, I guess you call it. I may not have been aware of all the junk that's in there. And so this ad, maybe an ad kind of shows me that problem. And then all of a sudden, it triggers me to go into evaluation for filters. So that's where the messaging can create the trigger in itself. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I think another way to think about it is taking a chapter after breakthrough advertising, desires, right? They may already have a desire, or they're not sure they have a desire, but either the ad or, frankly, Facebook and Instagram's content graph now, because they've gone away from interest to now content graph like TikTok, helps trigger that. And then they know, this person now may be in market too.
Yeah, 100%.
I've been looking at stuff for shoulder stability and the content graph of Instagram Reels. And then what happens, sure enough, an ad is served to me about certain products. So that's what I think is maybe this being triggered, as well as who they serve an ad to. I think it may be even more complex than that, to where they're looking at what content you're looking at. And that helps to also determine who's in market versus not in market.
Yeah.
For sure. And I guess because of this awareness, or for anyone who has any marketer who has an awareness of the customer decision journeys and how they are unique, then from that, and also an awareness of, okay, well, the different stages of in market, then wouldn't that be a really great vehicle conceptually to bridge to then go, aha, so now let's start testing out different hooks and different offers for the different types of clusters, segments in market, right? So if you're looking for a shoulder stability, it may be because you have an injury. So then hook, versus you're an athlete and you need to have it stable for training, which is not an injury related one. And then you start going into that realm and then having that as the hook instead. Would that be a good way to think about it?
Yeah, for
I think so.
Yeah. I think one thing McKinsey talks about also is this is not just about ads. It's also about providing enough information on your website for people that are in the active evaluation stage to make an informed choice. And talks about testimonials and social proofing. We can do that through our advertising as well. So yeah, I think it's, like I say, it's just a good way to conceptualize what might be going on. It's not too prescriptive, I don't think. And it's just another thing to kind of think about,
So I think that my issue with Facebook's definition of in market is that it makes it feel like oh, I just have to slap an offer in front of somebody or just say exactly what the product is, and like my ads are going to convert and they're going to crush. But let's take like shutter stability, right? In market, depending on the 5 levels of awareness, could be level 1 is not as strong as you used to be in the gym, right? Completely unaware. Okay. Then, and you go down and you define it further and further. And like each one of those people at any point in time could then enter into in market. So like in market is like a massive freaking pool so I just want to make sure people understand that in market is not small. It's a massive pool. People are coming in and out of in market all the freaking time. So like your messaging has to relate to people at different stages of where they're actually at.
And then you start finding the one that really starts to ping, and then that becomes the one that wins. Because you're playing with massive numbers.
Yeah, one thing I did was this. I posed this question. Which of these would have the biggest in-market audience? Foot glitter or car batteries?
That's funny.
Do you want an answer? Is that?
Yeah.
Do you want? Okay. Cool. No. Leave it up.
So you're selling a battery, then you're selling foot glitter.
Yeah, which has got the biggest pool of in-market audiences. Like,
oh,
I feel like this is a trick question.
It's not a trick question.
I'm gonna say car batteries.
Yeah, I think that would be fair because there's more people that probably need a car battery. I mean, no one really needs. I mean, I'm making an assumption here.
I don't even know anymore, man. Like, some of the stuff I see on TikTok, like targeting a whole other different generation compared to me, it might just be foot glitter.
Yeah,
more people have feet than cars.
That's true.
Right. So from that perspective, you feel like the TAM could be the foot.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about who's actually coming in market, logic tells me battery because that's cyclical where people actually have constant needs every single day.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. In terms of you to try and scale each, like if you had an ad account that was selling car batteries versus foot glitter, when you launch with your car battery ad account, you already got a pool of in-market people that you can tap into. And so like, it's very much just like you can show them the offer. You don't need to convince them to buy a car battery because most of the people that are in market probably need a car battery. But if you want to scale, you might need to convince people that have already got a battery and aren't in market now that this battery is better and will, provide some sort of extra benefit to their car.
Reinflate your wheels.
Yeah. With foot glitter, you've got no in-market audience. I assume you've got no in-market audience to tap into. So you're going to have to convince people that foot glitter is what they need. So like you're going to have a harder job scaling, probably because the AOV is lower as well, I would suggest.
Yeah.
But like
$2 glitter.
But you don't have a pool of people to tap into that are probably like hanging out and just, actively evaluating where their next foot glitter purchase is going to come from.
By the way,
that's the same thing on the Google side real quick is depending on the product, like even though people say Google is like demand capture, right? But they have in-market audiences and they have potential ways to tap into in-market audiences. It's the exact same way that if the product, depending on what you're selling, just like the battery, there's already in-market for it. It's already easier to hit the ground running. But if it's like a product that glitter, you're going to have a really hard time getting any traction whatsoever, just advertising on Google.
It's very telling how your brain works. For some, like whoever was the one that put foot glitter in there, it's very telling how their brains organized.
Well, I was trying to think of like, it was actually really hard to think about like, what's the smallest in-market audience I can think of like that would be around? And I don't know, I just came up with foot glitter, but I could be proven wrong. Maybe
is there
Coachella.
Actually a product out there for foot glitter?
I don't think so, but like
I would not
maybe
be
some
surprised.
Shopify stores might pop up overnight.
After this episode.
Yeah. It's a blue ocean.
No one's doing it.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, if you're selling car batteries, like, sure, you've got a big pool of in-market audiences, but you've also got a bunch of people that are probably competing. Whereas foot glitter, no in-market audience probably, but also you've got no competition. So, like, there's trade-offs, I think. And that's where, like, I think that's the trade-off that everyone has to make. Like, when you start moving outside and trying to create demand, you're reaching a bigger pool of people. Like you're now able to reach a bigger pool of people, and so potentially less competition, but it's harder to convert them. So there's that trade-off. Do you know what I mean? Like, because now you're going to have to, it's much easier to convert someone that's already in market versus someone where you're trying to actually convert them from unaware to
because you have to educate them, right? Like,
exactly.
If it's a truly new product, blue ocean, like, you have to like educate them, and that costs way more money than it does someone who's already in market.
Yeah.
And so I think, in terms of like thinking about scaling, we need to think about like we need to think about that in terms of also like return on messaging type. Like if our messaging is very much like, here's the product, here's the offer, very much product aware, solution aware, most aware. Like, I've lost my train of thought. But,
You're thinking about the feet glitter, aren't you?
Yeah, just all I can think about is foot glitter right now.
I just Googled it. There are some people that sell foot glitter.
Oh, man.
Dang it. That was my next business idea.
That was your Shark Tank moment?
Yeah, I was going to go and pitch it.
I'm asking for $4 million. Just imagine how many feet there are, Mark Cuban. Yeah,
I'd like to show you an ad that, and maybe you could think about like who this hits. And this is an ad that probably I would suggest is probably like the perfect Facebook ad.
Perfect. That's a high bar.
Well, I know because it's spent millions of dollars on this ad, and it's made a lot of money. So I'm gonna play if that's okay.
Yeah. No, Luke, it's not okay.
Yeah, so polite. If that's okay.
You see this okay?
Yep.
Who wants longer eyelashes? Me. I've been seeing this all over my Facebook. It's supposed to make your eyelashes longer and also fuller. As always, I am skeptical. So what am I going to do? I'm going to test this out on one eyeball. It's been a week. I don't really see a difference, but that's because it's been a week. It's been 3 weeks, and I am actually seeing a difference. It's this eye. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm seeing it. It's been 6 weeks. I'm supposed to do it for 8, but I am done. Why? Because it's working. Now, let's be real for a second. I know it looks like I curled these lashes or maybe put some mascara. I swear to you, I did not. Here's an extremely uncomfortable close-up for you all. And here's me with mascara. Take note, I tried with this eye. It's unbelievable. Wish me luck on my future journey to fix this. But I do recommend.
This ad absolutely crushed.
It's an amazing ad. What I love about that ad, and it's pretty rare to have ads like this, is it can take someone through all 5 stages of awareness in one ad. You can be completely unaware, and it educates you to the point of being product aware and completely aware. But you could also be solution aware and enter in it, and it can get you all the way to most aware. You could be at any point in the awareness, or using your term, Luke, or in market, and depending on where you're at in that phase, it can get you through the entire sales process to actually convince you to convert. Like that's a rare ad. It's very hard to make ads like that, but those are the ads that are highly scalable.
Yeah, for sure. For that reason, it's scalable, and obviously big addressable market as well. And yeah, I just the authenticity, like the skepticism within the ad as well. Like it takes people through that whole.
It kind of builds trust, right? Because
exactly,
she's already skeptical, and like everyone who saw it at that point is like, I'm skeptical too.
Yeah, and it's a story. I think it's like a bit of tells a story, and it shows the results. It's just a great ad. Very lucky with that one.
I like also, by the way, and I think this is why it shows. This is how it shows. If you follow the principles rather than the tactics, it can see you through. I love how it violates a fair few best practices in terms of creative as well. So it's not fast paced. It's not like really, really quick cuts. There's not a lot of like graphics to shooting in your face to attention grabbing, thumb stopping.
It's not loud either. Like the music, I can't remember if there was music in it.
Right. And it's not a, there's a lot to be said about showing a visual of the problem in the first 3 seconds and then transitioning to the explanation. It didn't do that either. It was literally piece to camera, and it just takes people through that storytelling, really, if you think about it. You're following her like it's a vlog condensed into a short amount of time, jump cuts. There's a lot of storytelling in there, but it violates so many of the things that we like people know to be best practice.
It doesn't feel like a hard sell either. Like typical story arcs we see from content like that is like, it's very like aggressive of, I tried this for 3 days, right? And like, it's automatically from the first scene, you think it's a hard sell. But that one, I could watch and like, oh, like, I don't feel like she's telling me a story, and it's almost like a review, like a YouTube review of a product, right? You get like the real deal. Is this true? Is this false? Like, she's going to even tell me if something didn't work, but she never did, right?
Yeah. And also, I think the headline up the top is like, I tried lash serum on one eye, and it's like, kind of like intriguing. Like, there's that curiosity element. We tried iterating on that ad a bunch.
Nothing
bit the, like, there's no CTA either at the end. Like, there's nothing that says like, buy now, tried iterating on the ad. Couldn't outdo the original.
That's wild. And that's a great ad. That thing spent millions.
It definitely spent, I would say, over $1 million. It definitely made millions for sure. Yeah.
That is wild.
That is wild.
Hey, while we're on this, while we're on this train of like breaking down ads, give us more, Ray.
All right. So I've got a couple of juicy ones for you guys. Some are statics, some are actual videos. So I'm going to show you the ad, and I want you guys to tell me why you think it works so well. Check this ad out. Why do you guys think this works so well?
Turn Pudge into power. I mean, as someone with a dad bod, I definitely want it to rest in peace.
I'm zooming straight in on the 64%.
The offer, yeah.
I'm like, yo, that's a steal. That's a steal right there.
So one thing I want to add in is this is actually a concept that, based off of the competitiveness of an industry, is you can create a potential blue ocean by then start calling out specific demographics of people. And why I really like it is anyone who has any kind of like a supplement, a pre-workout, or a fat burner, right now they're advertising burn fat. But a great way to then create another blue ocean is to start calling out specific segments like dad bod, mom bod, post-kid bod, grandma bod. And that's another way just to focus on that niche and then create your own blue ocean inside of it. And that's why I like it. Go ahead.
Case in point, right? I think this is actually perfect, because for me, like, anyone that knows me knows I've been training for like at least 2-3 years now consistently. This would not, the dad bod part would not, I'm not in that segment, but the 64% part, if I chanced upon this ad, I'd be like, dad bod or not, I'm jumping in for this. But it's just really case in point. I do not fall into this pocket. But if it was RIP your plateau, I'd definitely be in that market, right? And it could be the exact same stack. So I think that that was awesome that you put that up, because I think that's very, very relatable.
I wonder if you'd even get served that ad, do you? Based on the fact that, I bet, do you reckon Meta knows that you're?
I guarantee it.
You haven't got a dad bod and you're fairly ripped.
My advertiser side kind of wishes that it does know, but my human side's just like, holy shit, that would be wild. But I mean, think about it this way. Think about it this way. And this is me tinfoil hatting a little bit here. If my gym, and they have done this, my gym takes photos of me at the gym and then tags me at their location consistently all the time, and tags me on IG, what does that do to me and my profile? from like a user on Meta. I don't know, but that's really tinfoil. You know, we're going to like tinfoil hat kind of territory now.
It goes even further than that. Is the fact that you have Facebook or Messenger on your phone, location tracking when you actually go into that location as well. So there's a lot of different ways that Facebook gets you like that. It's tagging you, what potential interest and content in their content delivery is attached to that type of content, and then also location too.
Just like watch all the web privacy people.
Yeah.
Who like just go insane right now. Just be like, this is unacceptable. How could... yeah. Anyway, while Ray's looking for the next ad, it's just funny how, you know, when you go into like Google Maps or like any maps and it tells you like usually busy at this time. And then I just wonder how many people actually figure out how like Google knows that it's busy at that time. It's because you're taking your phone in there and 100%. Actually tells you, you know, like it's following you around.
So here's an ad of a brand that we actually know that we've since iterated on, but it was live for over 120 days, which I think is pretty significant of a breakout ad, right? That's been running for that long. This is a different type of ad than the ones that we've seen previously. So I'll play and then we can talk about it.
This is how we launched our hair care brand. This is my boss on the day of our launch, but this was her 1 year ago. Her scalp was dandruffy, flaky, and irritated, and we were wondering why there weren't any cool, natural anti-dandruff products that actually worked. So we changed that. We wanted to create a brand that would destigmatize dandruff while being effective, natural, and fun. And we got to work. After many, many trials, tests, and even a color debate, we had perfected our shampoo, and it was time to prepare for our launch. We had campaign shoots, our press send out, and we even set our site live. Follow along to see our journey, but...
Wait, does it really end on the butt?
Yep.
Oh, what?
Ends on the butt.
It ends on the butt.
Cliffhanger.
Again, same kind of thing. Like she's not speaking in that QVC infomercial kind of voice. It's actually fairly like, you know, high school reciting something in front of the classroom kind of voice too. And that's,
because it also feels a bit underdog too, right? Everyone kind of wants to root for a bit of an underdog, and the fact that when you see an ad, you think of like, oh, this brand may be like some big, legitimate, conspiratorial brand trying to get my money. But I think it really kind of breaks down the barriers. Like, oh, I'm just trying to help out the little guy. I'm just trying to help it out. Like I'm a little person too, like in business. I mean, so I really like that. And it almost makes you want to root for the brand and buy it, especially if you have that problem.
Yeah. I really want to bring this home for anyone who's watching this, because putting myself back into, I'm trying to white belt myself, or put myself into like that person's shoes. It might actually, the stuff that we talked about might actually confuse them more than give them clarity now. Because the overwhelming thought in my head is like, wait, so what you guys are saying is like, there's just no right ad. Like this could work and that could work and that could work and that could work. Are there some principles that we can provide and maybe distill down here after we've taken them on that journey to go, well, if you think about your testing in this way, or your scaling in this way, your creative in this way, or your hooks in this way, I'm just throwing stuff out there. Is there some cogent way to think about it rather than just see a bunch of examples and we're saying that, hey, it's working, but it violates every other best practice that we're also putting out there onto the internet?
Well, I think, to argue with you, the best practice is what people deem as the best practice. All of those ads follow a core fundamental best practice. It's just you have best practice, what the big industry tells you, right? But then you have the best practices of what actually works in real life. And like that's what I'm cautioning is like these are all following best practices based off marketing principles. Yeah. So Luke, you can jump in here. The first one is truly understanding the customers. Goes back to research. It's like all those ads speak to the skepticism of people who's in market. Like, for example, the eyelash thing. I don't like my eyelashes. If you actually really know your customer, you've really done your research, you would see that they're highly skeptical and they need some kind of proof demonstration, right? Which is what that ad does. So number one is knowing your customer and the research. Okay, so
before we move on to the next one, are there ways that we can give away right now that for people to do that? To do that research?
Yes. One would be, Luke, you love this one, No Commerce, which is a post-purchase survey.
Yeah. It actually frustrates me when people don't have a post-purchase survey set up. Like, it actually makes me a little bit angry.
Okay, tell us why. Tell us why. How does it work, and tell us why? Why
would you not, like, especially with No Commerce, who are amazing and have a free plan, like, it's literally free. Why would, and it doesn't affect your conversion rate because it's after the purchase. Why would you not want to hear from your customers about, I mean, anything that you're interested to know from them, like where they first heard about you, how long it took them to make the decision, what other products would they like to see? Was there anything that nearly stopped them from purchasing? Well, like, why wouldn't you collect that information from people, especially if it's free and like it has no negative impact on your conversion rate? Like, for me, it's insanity not to have it set up.
What are some of your favorite questions, Luke, that we use for some of those for research? I mean,
I think the basic questions are really useful, especially if you're running multiple channels or you're like unsure about where your traffic's coming from. Is asking people where did you hear about us, or what made you decide today. We've had some really good breakthroughs. I know Bradley, who was on the podcast previously, he uses post-purchase a lot to get really good insights about who should be targeting. Like, are you buying this for yourself or are you buying this as a gift? There's been some really surprising responses to that question. And this is the thing, a lot of people make assumptions about who the customer is. And like, this is one way to actually answer that question, because sometimes there's an argument about like, oh no, our customer is this, but like,
oh my gosh,
but actually the data is showing that it's not actually these people. Oh no, my audience is very intelligent people. Like I'm only advertising to intelligent people, and like, I mean, I don't know if there's a way to figure that out when you post-purchase. Maybe like ask them.
What's your IQ? What's your SAT score?
Actually put a brain teaser in the end to solve this. Right. Yeah. This train train A left the train station at 4 p.m. and it's traveling at this speed. Train B is going the other direction. When did they meet in the middle? And then answer that question.
Yeah. Or like my target audience is they're very much concerned about ethics. So like maybe trolley. Maybe
the one that freaking kills me, I want to jump out the window and start raging, is when people think my companies really care about ethically sourced materials. People do not care where you source your products. They only care about what's in it for them. Like, the only one who really cares about is you. And if you surveyed them, you'd actually find out. Sorry. I had a brand say that to me last week and I freaking lost it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, let's use the survey to answer let's
find out.
Let's be curious. Like, I think that's the big part about being a good marketer, is remaining curious, and so.
So bring that home, right? So when we have No Commerce, are there any other ones that we use to then do the research, but then the next part is, what do we do with that research? Like, if we can tie that bow together.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways in the research. So the No Commerce, which Luke mentioned, then you can ask any question you want, which is amazing for creating ads, right? Another one you can do is, can you source that information from customers themselves? There's a few ways. A Facebook group, reply campaigns on email, which we talked about with Justin in one of our previous episodes. Like, that's a great way to source research. Reviews, your competitors' reviews. One of the craziest hacks I heard one time is, so let's take a supplement business that sells to people who are fat, want to get in shape. Another great source is to go and find books about that subject matter and source their reviews too, to find out people's pains and what they say and what they're looking for. So pretty much you're trying to get any information from the actual person who are going to buy your product themselves, what they say, the words they say it, how they say it, as well as what it's like the dream outcome they're looking for.
And then that informs ad angles, that informs campaign angles, that informs concepts. Yeah, right. Got you. Okay. That's really awesome. So the first one is that. Anything else?
Look, you can jump in on the sprints, because once you get the concepts.
Yeah, I think, in terms of like a theme around, what works well, is authenticity. I think it's not like you can probably get good performance necessarily without solely focusing on authenticity, but I think you notice like a bit of a theme throughout those ads we showed. Like there's authenticity is a big part of it. And that original serum ad, we tried that exact same concept with several different types of creator afterwards as well, to see if we could squeeze more juice out of that particular thing. And literally nothing could outbeat Haley there in that ad because of her authenticity. So I think part of it is there is some intangible stuff, like, and that comes down to just being open to testing, and also like I think we talked about this in the last podcast, is like being led by data, not emotions, and being willing to just try stuff even if it's outside the box, because you don't necessarily have to commit a large amount of spend to figure out whether something's got some potential. I think as much as we want to be like really scientific about it and follow certain best practices, we also have to be like willing to, we don't want to, it's finding this balance between just throwing any old shit against the wall and seeing what sticks, and but not being but also being willing to try stuff. So I think it's just finding that balance. But as long as you've got a hypothesis, I think, and you've got a good way of tracking, like that kind of offsets that kind of shit against the wall kind of approach. So I think part of it is just having a process and being fairly methodical about what you are testing, and making sure that you're getting that feedback in terms of, what was the outcome of that test? Was our hypothesis proven or not? And that, that's why we have our sprint system, so that, we do get that feedback loop that feeds into the next sprint. So I think as much as like there's certain things that you should have, certain common elements in high performing ads, I think having the system to test is important, like. Yeah.
One thing I would add on is, I think where a lot of people struggle with, and I hear this a lot because I actually talk with brands every week, is I have all these ideas, I don't know which one to actually do. And Luke mentioned like come up with some kind of a theme, because there are an infinite amount of ad concepts you can make, infinite amount of variations, variables. So you have to like find a way to kind of hone it in. One mental model I like to think about is, if you've done the research part, and you can take all those reviews, throw them into ChatGPT, and it can literally tell you the most common pain points, wishes, wants. Like there's ways to do this quickly. But take all those, and based off knowing your customer, like on a spectrum, what are all the different wants, or what I'm going to call mass desires? And of those, which ones are the most painful, the ones they want the most extreme outcome? And then hone in your concepts of which are the ones that will help show that the best. And I like to start with that kind of paradigm shift, where I'm going to start with the biggest pains, the biggest mass desires that the biggest amount of people say they all share, and then make concepts around that. And then I just go down the path, and from most important to least important. I think that's a really good way to help focus people, because there are infinite amount of variables.
Yeah. So still honing around the desire, or rather focusing around the desire rather than a creative concept. Like, ooh, I want the video to be styled like this, like a stylistic concept.
That is what Luke says, just throwing crap against the wall, right? You're randomly doing it. But how Luke teaches our team, in the sprints, you come up with the concept, right? In the theme, it's found off of a hypothesis, right? Which means to have an hypothesis typically means like there's some amount of logic that went into it versus just randomly creating it.
Yes. I know a lot of founders, and I know we're just about at time. So I know a lot of founders that fall into this trap. One of them actually smacked me, like the actual event of it happening, which we talked about last episode, came to me. I manifested it at the gym. So this one guy apparently follows me on Instagram and knows that I'm here at Right Hook, and we work with like D2C brands and all that type of stuff. And he goes, "Hey, listen, man, I got this really one concept." And he starts showing me his product. He's like, "Stay right here." And he goes to the back and he brings it out. He starts telling me about how he wants to quit his job and have this go full time. And he spent the entire weekend producing the ad. Right.
Wow.
And he goes, next week, I'm just going to finesse it even more. And then I think I'm going to show it to my friends and then get some feedback. And then I think once it's ready, I really want to show it to you. And then I'm going to launch it. And I go, "Wait, just one ad?" He's like, yeah, man. Cause I want to make sure I put my best foot forward. And I go, "Well, bro, maybe just go out and shoot a bunch more." Right. I didn't really want to get into it, cause I was midway through a workout. But here's what he said. He said, I just want to make sure that I give it my all with this video, right? Before I even put it out. Like, and I could see exactly what he was talking about, like on his face. And he also happens to be like a musician, right? So I think it's more like putting everything into that. So even if it fails, I know I gave it my all in that video, was the vibe that he was getting into. So that's why I asked all those questions before. Like, I'm trying to go, how would I explain this to someone who's so in love? So like that creative element is so romanticized that it almost disregards the other elements. Because I know that it's very, very real for a lot of people. Right. And I think sometimes even when you're scaling, you might fall into that trap as well. But that was kind of wild. I did not know how to talk myself out. I was like, yeah, all right, man, go. Good luck with the shoot.
And there's a lot of people like that, right? Especially founders where they've either some kind of paralysis that they have, and who knows where it came from. But I think the reality is, it's for you to like crack an ad. If you can find a way to realize that to give it my all means I'm going to do a lot of volume over 3 to 6 months. Because that's a trap. I'm going to create like the best ad the one time. You're going to be so disappointed when it fails. And you're going to be so pissed off when this random TikTok and reel that doesn't have any logic crushes, right? So you've got to spend that time to figure out what works. And I think Luke hit it on the head when he was talking about that process.
Or even 2. At least you have something to compare it against, so it fails against something. Like if you got 1, you can't even compare it to anything else to be like, I don't know, it didn't bring me money, but besides that, I don't know. I have no other bearings whatsoever. Yeah. Okay, guys, we are at time. For those that are watching, I hope this was valuable. We kind of went really high level. Again, if you missed the previous one, I don't know why you're even here if you haven't watched the previous one, but go watch the previous one. This is my second reminder to go do that. Episode 9, where we first started bringing Luke in, and then hopefully this one where we got a bit deeper. It gives you what you need to start thinking about the frame of mind to start thinking about scaling. Any parting words of advice, boys, before we cap this thing off?
Yeah, I think we need to do another one just on creative, how to actually make an ad. Because like, as you can see, like there's so much to it, and to do it right, there's a lot of thinking and planning and prioritizing and making concepts that go into it, which is why
getting your head straight on the right way, right? Like, yeah.
I mean, gosh, like we have a whole business that is what we focus on and we stress about every single day. Like there's a lot more than just randomly creating things. So parting words is I think we should do another episode just on that, because I think people need to see how to do it the right way.
So parting words is come for the next episode.
Yes, come for the next one.
The advice is come for the next episode. Yeah.
Mine is like, I still can't believe people actually sell foot glitter. So that's, my mind is a little bit blown. So yeah, get it while it's hot, I guess. That's my advice.
Again, just watch the YouTube analytics. Just go like, all right, there you have it. Parting advice. Come to the next episode. We'll see you there. And maybe pitch Mark Cuban your foot glitter idea, because, hey, blue ocean. All right, have a good one. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Take it easy.